Good afternoon or good evening, everyone, wherever you are in the planet. Welcome to this Leading Residence Program series about the Startup Canadian program. I'm very happy to be here today. So my name is Suad, and I'm an Associate Director at Henley and Partners in the Montreal office in Canada. Very happy to be here today with my colleague, Katya, who I'm going to leave the chance to present yourself. Hi, Katya.
Hi, Swad. Hi, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, and wherever you're joining us from. I'm very happy to be here today. I'm talking about the Starter Visa program for Canada.
So actually today, if you are here, is probably because you have the interest in relocating to Canada, immigrating to Canada. As you know, Canada is a big immigration country. It attracts many people from all around the world because of its quality of life and the the education system and all what it goes with it. So today plan we're going to speak I'm going to present the plan here. I'm going to present Henley and Partners in case you don't know us already. We will go through a country overview, the key benefits of the country and of the program. Katya is going to speak in detail about the requirements, overview of the process of the program, and then we will have a question period at the end. So please feel free to write your questions, and we'll be very happy to take the time to answer to them. So, Henley and Partners, we are the global leader in residence and citizenship by investment. We assist many clients from all around the world. So, we have 70 offices worldwide, and we assist clients with more than 60 investment migration options. Today, the main object will be Canada, but we do assist clients with many other programs from all around the world. We have been doing that for more than 25 years. And something interesting to know is that Henley and Partners, we have two different divisions. So we have the division of private clients, where we assist clients and families. But we also have the division of government advisory, meaning that when governments want to create their own programs, we help them to do so. And we have helped more than 15 governments so far. And we have been assisting in raising more than 15 billion of foreign direct investments. So as I mentioned, we have a global presence. You can see here that we are all over the continent, all over the world in different continents, and you can see the 70 offices here. We also do many global events throughout the year and in many regions around the world. So lately, in the beginning of the year, there was a global citizenship seminar in New York. We've done recently one in Hong Kong, and that was our big global citizenship conference, which is a big annual event that was held in London just last week. So these kind of events, we gather experts from all around the world in the industry, from the industry of migration by investment. So, Hellen Partners, we do specialize in migration by investment. However, we wanted to point out one service that is so practical to our clients, and which is the education service. So, if you do have a family that you have children and you would like them to go study abroad in international universities, or maybe if you're planning to relocate, if you're planning to relocate, for example, to Canada, our education service can definitely help you. So we have different many experts from all around the world that are specialized in education in all continents. And what we can do for you is to assess the child, the profile of the child, and then we can help you find the right school or university or college for your child internationally, and then we can assist as well in applying to the school. So this is a service that is an additional service to what we do, but I think it might be interesting for many families. So now you have the project to maybe immigrate to Canada, but this is definitely something that you can benefit on while waiting for your permanent residency, or even if let's say you decide not to move forward with it. Now, let's speak a little bit about the world of investment migration, just to give you an idea of the context. So, investment migration is the fact that several countries around the world have programs in place to attract foreign investment. So, were high net worth individuals who would invest in the country. And in exchange of that, they would get the residence or the citizenship in that specific country with all the benefits that go with the residence or the citizenship. So some countries, they have residence programs. However, like Canada, so we start with a residence program that can lead to citizenship afterwards. But some other countries do have a citizenship program directly. What is the difference between both of them? So residence is a temporary thing, and it has to be renewed, and there are conditions. So for example, the investment has to be kept into the country, or there is a minimum stay requirement in order to renew the residence permit. And that usually gives the right to live, to work, to study in that specific country. As for the citizenship, it has all the same benefits. However, there are some other benefits where it is for life. There is no requirement anymore, investment requirement or minimum stay requirement, and it gives the right to have the passport, and it gives the right as well to vote into the country. So here you can see some leading residence and citizenship programs that we help clients with. As you see, there are many programs in the American continent, Canada, the US, many Caribbean countries as well. As you see, there are different options in Europe, in Asia, and Australia and New Zealand too. So obviously here today we are here to speak about the Canadian program. And we can definitely assist you with that from the beginning to the end. However, what usually clients appreciate is the fact that, let's say, Canada is not the right fit for you, we'll be able to find other options for you. Or we have some clients that they go with the Canadian program and then they do another maybe quicker program at the same time. So there are these kind of strategies that can be made as well. And Henley and Partners, as I said, we assist clients with more than 60 destinations, so we can help you filter and go to the right program that fits to your family. So the Canada Startup Visa, if we speak about Canada, probably you know that already, but it's just some more additional information. It is the second largest, sorry, country around the world and one of the wealthiest. And Canada is regularly voted as one of the best countries to live in. And that definitely explains the popularity of Canada as an immigration country. And there are so many hundreds of thousands of people who want to immigrate to Canada because of that. Population, almost 40 million. So the languages, the first one, two official languages actually. So English is the official language, and you would find French, that is the official language in the province of Quebec and New Brunswick as well. And the currency is the Canadian dollar. So benefits of living in Canada: high standard of living, affordable and high quality education. I will give more information about that in a couple of seconds. Universal healthcare system. And given the fact that, as I mentioned, Canada attracts many people around the world, it is a very multicultural country. So you will find a big diversity of people from all around the world, tolerant country, and you will find some vibrant cities such as Toronto, Vancouver, Calgary, or Montreal, where we are based. Excellent place to do business as well, with the access of the entire North American market. And a very big advantage of Canada is when you get the citizenship, you get a passport, and the passport is very well ranked. It is in the top 10. So with a Canadian passport, you can have access to more than 180 destinations visa-free, which makes it a great tool for mobility. So the Henley Education Report. So Henley and Partners, we publish different very interesting reports, and I definitely invite you maybe to go to the section in the website of the reports where you will find many very interesting reports. And the education report, it ranks the countries of the quality of education based on several factors as the earning potential, the career advancement, or the economic mobility that education brings in that specific country. And Canada, we're very proud that it is in the fifth position of this ranking, and among the top 250 universities around the world, you can find 11 universities that are in Canada. And top universities, for example, is the University of Toronto or the McGill University that is based in Montreal, that I have been myself, and I had a great experience. Now, let's get into the subject. So, I will invite my colleague Katia to speak more in detail about the Canada Startup Visa program, what are the requirements, the process, etc. Katia, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Suad. So again, hello everyone. Like Suad was mentioned, we're gonna get into a little bit more detail on the Canada Startup Visa program. Just as a disclaimer before we start anything, please consider this is not legal immigration advice. This is high-level information. So we're gonna discuss in a broad and some detailed information of the program. But if you do have a particular interest in the program, we highly encourage you to reach out. We'll be more than happy to assess your situation and choose the best path, whether in Canada or outside of Canada, for your immigration goals. To obtain a residence or a citizenship. That being said, what is Canada's Startup Visa program? In essence, the Canada Startup Visa program is the Canadian immigration pathway for entrepreneurs who have an innovative business idea and can get support from a designated Canadian organization, and this is a residence by investment program. That being said, it can lead to a citizenship option for Canada, pending some requirements of state, and we will get to that in a couple minutes. So, what are the main requirements for the Canada Startup Visa program for any applicant that wishes to apply? So, the first one, like I said, is to create an innovative startup, and we need to get or obtain a letter of support from one designated organization. At this point, there are three options that are accepted by the government. So it's through a business incubator, angel investor, or venture capital fund. Please bear in mind, angel investor and venture capital fund have priority processing, which we will talk about the processing time in just a bit, but they have priority path with the government, so it is beneficial for the applicant to choose from. The other three requirements are to have an English or French language proficiency of 5, which is about an intermediate level of the language, good health, and sufficient funds to settle and live in Canada. This will depend whether you are a single applicant or if you're choosing to come with your family, up to 4 people, which is from 13 to 25,000 Canadian dollars. Now, on the processing time, like I just mentioned, there are 2 pathways or designated organizations that have priority pathway. Here, given the recent news about the processing time, those that have priority path are considered to be processed within 24 to 15 months, which is around 2 to 4 years. It depends on the complexity of the process. Other than that, it would require, we are in close monitoring of the timing. We expect the out of the regular pathway to decrease on the waiting time, so it is better for those that wish to go to the regular pathway. However, what can we do if we do have to wait the 2 to 3 years or even longer? There is a possibility to obtain an open work permit and study permit for those that wish to get into Canada as quick as possible. On the time frame, it usually is after a couple months of application, of submitting the application, I apologize, that you can get access to the open work permit that will allow you to remain in Canada while waiting for the permanent residence. The permanent residence itself has a 5-year period. And in order for you to be able to renew your permanent residence, you have to stay in Canada 530 days within a 5-year period. This doesn't have to be consecutive 730 days, but they do have to count within that time frame. Those days are also calculated for the path to citizenship, which in order for you to be eligible, you have to be a permanent resident for 3 years or about 1,095 days of physical presence out of the 5-year period. So there is a clear pathway for those that wish to obtain Canadian passport. The process is quite straightforward, but why is it straightforward? Because we help you through the whole process from start to bottom. The main process starts with a preliminary assessment. This is to know on your situation, family situation, and what are your goals, to make sure that you meet all the requirements, the minimum requirements, and then we get you started with the startup part of the process. This can either be the creation of a new startup, or we can even pair you with another eligible startup founder, up to 5 applicants per startup, to work the whole process. You don't have to worry about the every single detail. We're here to support you, Henley and Partners, along with our providers and our lawyers, help you through the whole process. After you get your startup going, we submit to a designated organization and you have to access an incubation program. This is just to make sure that you get the necessary tools about the business culture in Canada and you can better integrate into the business scheme in Canada. Then after that, it takes a couple months, but you get your letter of support from a designated organization. This is very important. Without a letter of support, we won't be able to submit. So we make sure to work towards that letter of support. Um, and so we're ready to submit. And then the submission phase of the residence application, along if you wish, with the open work permit application. So the timeline for this, it takes a couple months before we can submit. But if you are ready to start, the application or the assessment process, it takes about a month with, or a month to 3 months with along the startup creation or pairing with an existing startup. Also, the incubator program, depending on which incubator program we are doing, it takes anything from 2 weeks to 4 months. And the finalization of the business package, it takes about 4 weeks. So we're talking approximately about 5 to 6 months. It could take more or less, depending on the complexity again. When we get the issuance of the letter of support, we submit our application, and if you do wish to apply for the open work permit, it can take about 4 to 6 months, depending on the timeline provided by the government, that you get your open work permit. And from that moment, you can stay in Canada. Your children can study in Canada with all the benefits included while waiting for the permanent residence. And the price range here included it's from $215,000 to $300. It would depend again on the complexity of the startup, your family structure, and what are your goals, whether you want to move into Canada immediately or not. And again, it is very important that you reach out to us so we can assess your situation and then we can determine what is the best pathway for you. And just some final words. I know there might be some questions about around that on the processing time and the cost. It is very important to know if you choose to do priority pathway or the regular pathway, that would impact on the waiting time or the processing time for your application. But we are closely monitoring the decisions and the updates from the government to make sure you get all the information upfront as clients of Henley and Partners. And with that, I'll leave it to Swed on this.
Thank thank you, Katya. Thank you for all these information. So you probably have many, many questions. We know it's a lot of details. Feel free to type in your questions. We're gonna go to a question period and we'll be happy to make it more clear for you. So as a conclusion of the Henley and Partner service, so we do provide a white glove service, meaning that this program implies that you need to create a startup, and creation of a startup is something that can be quite complex, especially in a new country. And then it applies all the paperwork for immigration. So as Katya was mentioned, this is something that we take in charge from the beginning to the end. We'll find a startup for you that is innovative and eligible, and then we take care of all the market research and then corporation and the business plan, which is really, really important. And then we take in charge the immigration process as well. So it's a white glove service. We try to make a complex process in as simple as possible for you. So it is the expertise as well. As mentioned earlier, we even helped many governments creating their own programs. So we know what governments are looking for. Multi-destination advisory, as mentioned before, if Canada is the right path for you, we will assess from the beginning and we will tell you. If Canada is not the right path for you for any reasons, well, we have a team that know very well many other programs, and then we can find the best fit for you. And the network with the 70 offices around the world, we do have a great network as well everywhere. So if you'd like to contact us, to reach out, feel free to do so. So you have my contact info here. I work in collaboration with Katya. So I'm based in Montreal. You have my contact info and the email. And then what we can do is set up a Zoom call and we'll go through over your profile and assess what would be the best solution and the best fit for you. Now we'll go to some other questions. We do have many questions here. However, what I wanted to mention is we have covered the startup visa program today. However, as you know, there are many other programs to get the permanent residency in Canada. Another one is the entrepreneur program. So the entrepreneur is a provincial program. For example, BC do have one, Alberta do have one, and that implies that you buy an existing business. So it is not an innovative startup. It could be an existing business that you can buy. So you have to invest a minimum of roughly 100,000 Canadian. You have to add to that approximately another 100 for all the fees that are required. And with that, there is a route to permanent residency. So this is something that could be feasible as well. So if you're interested maybe to know more about the startup visa or this route, you can reach out to us and we can tell you what is the difference. There is another program as well, which is passive. So, as we just explained, the startup visa or the entrepreneur, it is a program that you have to be actively involved because there is a creation of a startup, there is the involvement in a business. There is another round that is passive, and this is a question that we have very often. I want to come to Canada, but I want something passive just to invest. So, the province of Quebec do have a passive program that you invest 1 million Canadian and you give a donation of 200,000 Canadian as well. However, there is a requirement that you need to speak French. So the French proficiency is very high. So if you do have this proficiency and you want a passive program, it could be the solution for you. And this is, as Katia mentioned, if you're interested to come to Canada, we can look with you what would be the best fit. So now we move on to the questions. So Katya, would you like to start with a question?
Yes, sure. I see some questions are related to the PR and the work permit, that I thing we already touched upon, but I'm happy to repeat again. So on the validity of work permit, was the validity of this. So the work permit is valid up to 3 years. The open work permit is valid up to 3 years with the option to renew until you obtain the answer from the government about the starter visa application that you already submitted. So in that regard, you can build history on the open work permit. Again, it allows you to work if you are already in Canada, and there are other pathways to consider once you are already in Canada. But again, you can definitely consult any immigration situation. We would ask you to reach out directly, and we can definitely assist on any immigration particular advice. And also for the business incubators, mark priority processing on IRCC website, the ones that you connect with. Yes, we work with different service providers and lawyers that are all connected and with all the priority processing. And yes, all venture capitals and angel investors are on the priority list. And if you go to on the website on business incubators, you'll see that some have priority, but not all of them. But that's not the case for venture capitalists and for venture capital and angel investor. They are all included. Um, there was also the physical presence requirement once PR is granted. Like we mentioned, to maintain your permanent resident status, you have to be in Canada for at least 730 days within a 5-year period. If you overstay outside of Canada for the 5 years, you might be ineligible to maintain your permanent resident status. However, again, it really depends on the activities that you're doing, the activities you're working on the permanent residence, and if you do maintain the 730 days, you would be counting your days towards citizenship. So we always advise on that, on considering that part. Um,
And maybe just to jump in, Katya, on what you're saying. So, if you look in the government's website, it is clear that you have to spend minimum 730 days in order to renew your residence. However, there are some ways in working with that, and this is what needs to be obviously assessed with you. Is that if, let's say, in the question it mentioned to remain in the U.S., do these days count? Well, if you can prove that from your own country, home country, you are actively working on the startup. So if this is something that you can prove, there are some days that could be counted. So let's say even if you don't spend all the 730 days, but there are some days you can prove that you were working in the US or in India or in France, something can be done. So it's kind of it could be possible. So maybe here I can go with some questions. What is the cost per applicants in the group of five? So thank you for asking this question to avoid the confusion. So the price that we mentioned, 215 to 300, this is for one application, so one family. And into one startup, we can include up to 5 applicants. So basically what it means is that for one startup, there could be 5 different families, so 5 different main applicants, and the cost for each would be 215 to 300. So that cost is really per family. Then for the 10 years, I think you have specified it, Katya. So there is now some uncertainty, obviously. There are some prioritized paths that we try to go on, obviously, but it's never something guaranteed.
Yes, and if I can add on that, like we said, the timeframes that we provided on the 2 to 3 or 4 years, it is on the priority pathways that we are estimating to apply. Unfortunately, all timeframes and our processing times where have become larger, not just on SUV Canada, but for different immigration streams. So we need to constantly be monitoring on the IRCC website. And like Swat said, we have really good connections and network with experts in the area to monitor this very closely. And this also applies to any legal action or upcoming bills that we closely monitor and we provide advice. Whether or not it would apply to your situation, that would need to be considered with a particular assessment. And there could be many other pathways or other countries if you're looking for a residence option.
So here we have a question. The person says it will work if you only have the idea of the startup. How easy with your company to get the startup, to get the letter of support, and you have an amount of existing startups that you deal with? And the answer is yes. So the way we work is we work with some teams of experts, and we already have some startups that are being created, so some founders. And then what we will do is we will look at your profile, your experience, and based on that we will pair you in a startup that will fit your own experience, so you can bring a value added. So usually in one startup we would like to have someone that is in law, maybe in accounting, in marketing. If it's a startup that is in the health industry, maybe someone who has worked in the health industry. So what we do is we pair different people that would complete each other for the expertise that they have. So based on your experience and based on the assessment that we will do, we will propose a first startup. If it fits with your, if you like it, then you can join. Otherwise, we'll get you another startup and then another startup until the time that you get comfortable in joining one group. So this is the way it works. So yes, we do have some existing startups, and then you will have a choice to join or not. And afterwards, in that startup, as I mentioned, we take care in giving that support for the business plan that is very critical to get the letter of support. The question, how easy with your support to get the letter of support? Well, actually, we can guarantee that you will have the letter of support. So we cannot guarantee that you will have the government permit at the end. We can never say that. No lawyer could tell you that. However, the way we structure the files, we definitely have great results. But for the letter of support, we can guarantee that you will get it.
Yes. I think there's more questions on the work permit and the renewals and who can be included. So, just as a general, I think information, the open work permit allows to work with any employer that you of your choosing. That's the essence of the open work permit. However, again, any particular assessment on immigration wise, we do advise you to reach out directly to us so we can redirect you to our experts and lawyers that can better explain to you on the situation. But in essence, the renewals and the uses of the open work permit is as general as it can get. They're all the information is on the IRCC website. Open work permit, you can work with any employer, and you can renew the open work permit for, as our knowledge is up to today, up to the necessary times that you require. However, like I mentioned, there might be a different pathway if you have work experience in Canada to be able to apply for a different pathway. Again, this is particular legal immigration advice, so make sure to reach out so we can better answer your questions.
So here we have a really good question. And the question is, if I'm investing 300,000 in a startup, what can I expect in terms of return on my money? And do I need to be involved in the startup? Can I work on other projects? This is probably many people are wondering this question. So thank you for asking. So the first thing is, you have to understand that when you create a startup could definitely succeed and you can make a lot of money out of it, or it could fail. And so in the startup, once you're in it, you will have 10% share in that specific. So if it succeeds, well, this 10% could really become a lot eventually, a lot of value, or it could also fail. And it's really important that you manage your expectation that this startup could fail. This is the nature of the startup. But now the question that we have very often is, but what if it fails? Do I lose my PR? The good news is that even though the startup fails, which we do not hope for, obviously, and you will have the incubator and the mentoring, etc., to make it as successful as possible. But in worst case, if it does fail, then what happens is that your PR is still granted. So even if the startup fails, you still get your PR, no problem. So basically in this 300K that you would kind of pay, that would you will finish with a startup that could succeed or fail, but you will finish with a permanent residency. So as for the returns, it is not something that we can give because it could succeed or it could fail. So it will depend on the business. And do I need to be involved in the startup? And the answer is yes. And the level of involvement depends on you. So we have some people that, they come to Canada and they tell us, you know what, I want to be very involved. I want to be hands on into the startup. And this is something great. This is definitely something that you can do and be very involved. However, we do have many people that are retirees from all around the world. They're their 60s, their 70s, and they want to come to Canada, but they don't want to get very much involved because they have, they tell me I've just worked enough in my life. And this is something that we can adjust. So what we always say is that you have to expect to be minimally involved into the business, but we can adjust the level. So it could be a couple of hours maybe per week, and then you could bring a consultancy role. So you will not be hands on, but there is a minimum of involvement. But I would say do not worry. Like if you are ready in being involved minimally, it could definitely work. And if you can work on other projects, definitely. Because as I said, if you work minimally involved into the startup, it could be a couple of hours per week, and then you can definitely be involved in other projects too. And as Katia just mentioned, if you come before getting your permanent residency, you will have this open work permit, and then you can work in other businesses as well. So I could maybe jump on to the next question, which is do passive investment pathways in Quebec entrepreneurship incubator have similar timelines, or there are some more experienced than others? So this really changes a lot. So we're trying to be as updated as possible. So the passive route in Canada for the Quebec. Uh, Now the timeline that we're hearing is approximately 2 to 3 years to get the permanent residency. However, in 6 months, you can get the temporary residency to come to Canada. So this is approximate. Obviously, it's never guaranteed. We're just giving some approximations here. And for the Quebec program, as I mentioned, there is a proficiency, high French proficiency. So do we have any other questions?
I think there's one more about multiple family members on one application. Does everyone have to be involved, even at a minimum level? I don't know if you'd like to answer that.
Yes. So actually, the main applicant needs to be involved. It's only the main applicant. So let's say if there's partner, kids, they do not have to be involved. It's really only the matter of the main applicant. And for kids, it's 21 years old and less that can be included into the application. A question that we have very often, can we include the parents, like the parents of the main applicant? In Canada, it is not possible to include the parents. So it would be the family, so the couple with the kids. So I think we've been through all questions. We really hope that that was useful for you. We know how important a migration project is. And if we can help you, if we can assist you, feel free to contact us. So you have my contact info. I'll be happy to go through your profile to assess and see what would be the best option for you, and especially to help you make this great project a reality for immigrating to Canada. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.